Good day, my name is Zeke Geoffrey Angelo P. Acosta, and I'll be telling you on the issues on communication in a culturally diverse workplace. Understanding unfamiliar cultures, using a cultural in general approach, values orientation, and behavior comparison, and overcoming bias and stereotypes, threat of the unknown, comfort of the unfamiliar. Type of issues in a culturally diverse workplace. Here are some examples. Direct versus indirect. Communication styles in a Western culture are direct and the meaning is seemingly obvious. Other cultures tend to be more discreet in the way they present their message. As a result, communication between a Westerner and a non-Westerner can result in confusion in the workplace. The next one is trouble with accent and fluency. A more obvious challenge within an organizationally diverse workplace is the barrier among employees, including accents and fluency. The next one is different attitudes towards hierarchy and authority. In any organization, uh, teamwork is essential to success and profitability. However, in some cultures, employees are treated differently based on their ranks within the organization. Diversity training in the workplace should account for negotiation tactics among different types of cultures. Then, conflicting norms for decision making. It isn't surprising that individuals' cultures have their own way of reaching an agreement and becoming an executive decision. Culture, Cultures differ on how the long decision making process takes, what steps must be in place beforehand, and how much effort should be put in. Communicate with people who we don't know. It will give us discomfort may occur when we encounter people who are in the unfamiliar, and this results to non-verbal communication differs, formality and informality of language, and language barriers. The next one is we operate in our own cultural assumptions. Range of what is normal is culturally based. Expectation may be limited. Elements of culture. Elements of culture. Culture is a very complex concept comprising which of so many elements. All of these elements have already evolved over time. Through the elements of culture are many. We are focused here on languages, religion, aesthetics, attitudes, customs matter, and supernatural beliefs. And here is the different types of elements of culture. As you see, there are education, values, beliefs, material culture, attitudes, aesthetics, and of course, the most important thing, the language. Issues dominating intercultural communication. The first one is formality, social customs, styles of dress, time, tolerance of conflict, gender roles, regional differences, ethnicity, attitude when you talk towards others, attitude towards conflict, nonverbal behaviors, and of course, disabilities. Cultural context. There are two types of cultural context. The first one is the low cultural context. People rely more on nonverbal communication and less on nonverbal ones. LCC uses language primarily to express thoughts, feeling, and ideas as clearly as logically as possible. The next one is high context culture. Rely less on verbal communication and more on nonverbal actions. HCC relies mostly on verbal cues to convey meaning. When delivering awkward message, HCC speakers often convey meaning through a context rather than plainly stated words to avoid upsetting the listener. Culture clash or culture shock, as you may see, understandings and disagreements between different types of culture, emotional and behavioral reaction to working and living with different types of culture. Each person will experience culture shock differently based on his or her personality. One of the major causes of culture shock is being cut off from the unfamiliar cultural patterns. And these are the types of examples of culture shock and clash or a culture clash. Let me see. These are the effects of culture shock. A sense of uprootedness, feeling of disorientation, not knowing what's going on, so many adjustments to be made that one becomes overwhelmed and also frustrated. Successful intercultural communication. And here are the examples. Assume the differences until similarity is proved. Take responsibility for effective communication. Avoid judgment. Show respect, empathize, be patient, and also be flexible. Here, overcoming language barriers. These are what you are going to need to do to overcome language barriers. Avoid idioms and slangs. Pay attention to local accents and pronunciations. Be aware of vocal variations. Learn the universal language, and that is called English. Respect preference and communication style. What can we do to avoid conflict towards others? First, become aware of the differences in values that constitute cultural dimensions. The next one is discern different communication styles and the concerns that generate them. The third one is keep your communication very clear and aid your communication with graphics or expressions. Now that's all for today. Thank you for listening. And again, my name is Zeke Acosta, and this is my presentation.